it's fine. But there is dedicated time for Q&A. We want to hear from you, and we will want to of course know what questions you have. It also helps our work. So even though we are now counting towards 90 participants, this is a friendly environment. We welcome questions. So please use the Q&A section and also use the chat to interact. My colleagues are also here. We have a big team here. We work together towards this deployment project. So we are all very much equipped to answer your questions. So what is it that we will be covering today? I will do a little introduction, and then you will meet the actual team, so the faces behind the deployment action of the data spaces, so that you will know exactly who is responsible for what part and who you can contact in the future if you have specific questions. Then we will introduce, with the help of Ron, with the kind help of Ron from Bruxelles and City of Amsterdam, the Data Cooperation Canvas, which is a tool that was developed during the preparatory action, which helps data sharing cooperations, as the name may have given it away. And then we will just go over of the results of the data space for smart communities preparatory action. So what is the blueprint and what is the action plan for deployment and what is available for everyone already to use. This will be followed by examples that we actually retrieved from an action that we did during this preparatory action, which was called the expression of interest form, where we invited the community to submit ideas about what kind of data spaces and use cases they have in mind and what kind of collaborations they want to propose. So this is just to give you an idea about what we will plan to do, hope to do in the upcoming years. And then we can already move on to the what is ahead of us. So what is actually the open call, how it will look like, and how you can be eligible for that, and what will happen afterwards. So we will have a support team, and we will also see the impact of our project. And then, of course, a little bit of time for understanding where you can get in touch with us and where you can actually follow our activities. So we will also present that. And then the last part of our meeting is dedicated to an open discussion. So although you are very welcome to already use the Q&A and the chat section, and we will answer the questions also during the meeting, there is an open discussion part where you're invited to post the questions. So as I said, a little reminder, a little recap of the timeline that we have here. In 2022 October, we kicked off the data space for smart and sustainable cities and communities preparatory action. This was a one-year project. It came to an end this September, and it is now continued by the European Data Space for Smart Communities project, which is dedicated to the deployment of the blueprint, the data space blueprint that we have developed during this preparatory action. And now, just so that you understand who is also in the room, we have invited obviously the stakeholder forum of the DS4CCC that with whom we have closely worked together in the preparatory action, but we also have Gabriele, I'm afraid you are not muted. Thank you. So now we have also invited the Living in EU movement here, which is actually by Gabriela Ruseva from Eurocities. She is the coordinator of this movement. The reason the Living in the EU movement we collaborated with them is because obviously they are very much focused on enabling the digital transformation of cities and communities. So you're very welcome. And then we have Tanguy here from the Gaia X community. Maybe Tanguy, you want to say a couple of words why it's important for the Gaia X smart communities to be here?
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Sophie. Very happy to be part of this story. We're really looking forward to the deployment phase of the DS4SCC project, and we expect it will give a very big boost to data spaces in Europe, in smart cities and communities. So that's really great. And like the second point I wanted to say is that quite soon, somewhere early December, we will plan a meeting of the ecosystem work group on smart cities and communities, where we will discuss the latest Gaia-X components that have been released last week at the Gaia-X Summit, some of which I think will be very relevant to this project. And I'm talking then about the clearinghouse and the federated catalogs. Thank you.
Thank you. So as you can see, there are also a lot of relevant actions going on the side as well, not only within our ecosystem, but very much related to our ecosystem. And now let's meet the team. So the consortium, who is actually here to make the data space deployment happen. First, we have the coordination team.
Yes, hello, my name is Elisabeth, and I, together with Martin Brunskov, we are coordinating the deployment phase, and will of course be involved in all work packages and everything surrounding this deployment phase, and will be the main contact for you if you have questions or anything.
Then the stakeholder forum, which was actually established during the preparatory action. The preparatory action was actually coordinated by OpenAgile Smart Cities, and this will actually be continued by OpenAgile Smart Cities, the management of the stakeholder forum together with Fireware and actually Serendipity, and I will be the lead here. And my colleague, who couldn't make it today, Timo Thuyer, many of you may have already met him. He's a computer scientist, and he will be responsible for the update of the data space blueprint, because of course we have published a data space blueprint at the end of the preparatory action, but we do expect that the realization of the data spaces will bring new updates and new insights to this blueprint. So this will give an opportunity to iterate on what we already have. Yes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ghazal. I'm from AAT with my colleague Martin Tramuller, and we were part of the consortium of preparatory and looking forward to continue our contribution.
Okay. Now we have yeah.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Clara Pezuela. I'm working at Fireware Foundation, and our team, together with the other partners in the consortium, are leading the team that is going to support the pilots during the project.
Sophie, maybe if I present myself as part of that work package, because we are not leading anything, so
please go ahead.
You will skip me. So I'm Flavio Quart from the Chamber of Commerce of Slovenia, and we are supporting all work packages, but in this work package particularly, we will lead the trainings that will be held for pilots. So you will see there mostly us engaged in leading the trainings for you. Yeah, thanks.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nuria Belama. I'm consulting director at IDC, and we are leading the part of the project devoted to maximize the impact of the data space for smart cities and communities. As you will see later on, basically, we will talk about impact assessment, the go-to-market and sustainability strategy of the project. We will also be responsible for marketing and communications, one of the partners involved in this work package, and we will also deal with the ethics assessment of the pilots. So you will see a bit more later.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Rob Heijman, and I'm working together with Dori on making sure we have an ethics team, but also help you or coach you in making sure that whatever you are submitting during the open call makes sense from an ethical point of view and that you have a positive impact on society.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marlene. I work for Serendipity, and together with my colleague Ignacio, we are responsible for all communication for this project, and we are part of our package 5 together with you.
Okay, so this was our team. As you can see, that we have quite a team and an all-round roadmap and a plan on how to make this deployment as smooth as possible. But let's hear from you. We also want to know who is actually in the audience. So if you could please scan the QR code that I just posted in the with your mobile phones, then I can already. Okay. Then I would like to just quickly, let's see. So first, let's see who is with us in the room. Wow, we have a really good representation of cities, regions, and communities. We have 16 people who have. I'm also putting the link in the chat. And there's a few that. Wait just a second so that everyone can scan the QR code and join this poll to see who is with us today. Okay, let's. For those of you who just joined, we are just having a quick round of introductions, which is very difficult when we have this amount of participants. So instead, we just have a Slido prepared to see who is in the room. So if you can just please scan the QR code and join us here. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Maybe then. Which country are you based in? We are very interested to know if we have managed to reach out to a good representation of European member states, or obviously this is ongoing work. We always are trying to reach as many as possible and raise awareness. So we have Portugal, Germany, Italy, Finland, France, Slovenia, Belgium, Denmark. Okay, Denmark and Denmark. Luxembourg, Latvia. Poland, Romania. For those of you who just joined, I just admitted a couple of people. We are just doing a round of introductions. So if you want to quickly scan the Slido to participate in this getting to know each other exercise, which is, as I mentioned earlier, it's a bit tricky with this many participants. So that's why we use Slido. But in smaller groups, we are happy to get a space for a bit more informal introductions. See, there are still people typing. Okay, and let's go to the last question. Which one describes you the most? Are a technical expert, a legal expert, capacity building expert, or a project manager who does it all. So I see we have a lot of project managers here. I myself am also one, so welcome, welcome. Okay. So let's go back then to, can someone confirm I'm back to my slides, please?
Yes.
Good, thank you. So let's just go to the last part of the introduction, a little announcement that a call to action that on the 17th of January in Rotterdam, we will host the OASC conference, and the reason this is a very important date is because this is when we are going to launch the Data Space for Smart Communities open call. But alongside with this announcement, there are several others also happening, which is that the Sitcom AI testing and experimentation facility will also be open for business. The launch of the third Community City Call, another project, is also happening there, and also the launch of Smart Communities Network. Now it's maybe a lot of gibberish for you, but if you want to follow up on what these projects are, of course, please reach out to us. So this would be the part of the introduction, and I would like to invite now Elizabeth, to the coordinator of this project, to introduce.
Thank you very much, Sophie. I trust you can see my screen, everyone. So hello
Yes.
again. My name is Elizabeth, and I am part of the coordination team here at DTU. I'm very happy to see so many of you here today. And to get things started, I will briefly touch upon the context of this project as part of the Digital Europe program and its connection to other ongoing projects. So the whole reason why we're here in the first place, and why this project is receiving funding, and why it may be relevant for all of you, is because of the Digital Europe program. It's a relatively new funding program which focuses on bringing digital technology in general to businesses, citizens, and public administrations. So that means to basically all of you. Some of you may be familiar with the Horizon Europe program. They fund research and innovation projects. They've been doing this for many years. But now the Commission wants to support even further the digital transformation, to bring the product development closer to the market, and hence avoiding this valley of death that you can see here on the slide. And the reason why this is important for you is that the program aims to solve some of the societal challenges that you may be dealing with right now by focusing on using digital technologies. So the way that this digital transformation is targeted in one case is through the creation of European data spaces, which is what we will dive deeper into in today's session. So what is currently missing from the data space landscape are the data spaces on the EU level. The data space for smart communities, alongside with the data space Green Deal, for instance, are different from the classical sectorial data spaces, in that it's not focused on one single domain or sector, but the aim is and how it will aid to tackle these societal challenges is that it will facilitate the coherence of rules and practices, layering the basis of a free flow of data between ecosystems and across silos. So this development of standard data sharing models and interoperability standards will lead to the availability of new kinds of data and larger sets of data with easier access. So that's the whole point. And eventually this can support, for example, SMEs in the development of new products and services, and increase of available data can help to validate existing solutions and improving the quality of and trustworthiness. I think someone needs to mute. Can do. Okay, thank you. And this slide, maybe some of you have seen this one before, but alongside with the data spaces are also many other initiatives. The reason why I'm showing this is for you to know what else is going on, who you could potentially reach out to for collaboration or support. We have, of course, the data space for smart cities and communities preparatory action, which has now ended, as Sophie mentioned, and now we are in the deployment phase. And also in parallel, we have the establishment of the European Network of Digital Innovation Hubs, known as the EDIs, which are also a key factor because they are one-stop shop to supporting companies and public sector organizations to respond to digital challenges. There are around 70 of them, so a fair amount in each country across the EU. And this year we also launched the AI testing and experimentation facility, the SICOM AI, where companies can test their AI-based products. And we have the local digital twin projects and also Community, who will also launch their pilots, the call for pilots at the same time as we will in the deployment. So, as mentioned before, 17th of January is the important date. So please mark this in your calendar because a lot of things are going on exactly at that date. Last of all, I will just leave my contact information. I will also put my email in the chat. So feel free to reach out to me by phone call or email, and I will be happy to assist you the best way that I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Clara, could you please come on?
Yes. Yes, hello. Hello, good morning. So as Elizabeth said, this data space is framed in the overall data spaces movement in Europe. So I will give you, I will try now to frame a little bit this data space in regards to the overall framework in Europe. Of course, data spaces are both in the Digital Europe program in order to support the implementation of this single market of data. And they are not starting from scratch, they are relying on the existing mechanisms and solutions for data sharing since some time ago. And of course, in the end, they are also relying on digital ecosystems. So we are aware in the case of data space for communities that we are not starting from scratch, we are starting from the digital systems that are already existing in cities and communities. And of course, the data spaces are becoming more and more concrete if we are able to identify specific use cases where to validate and to deploy all the mechanisms that are put it on the table. And that's why also this data space for smart communities is launching these open calls in order to identify these potential use cases and pilots in order to materialize all that is in theory into practice. So in this environment, the European Commission had put in place several programs, several funding instruments in order to come up with these common European data spaces in different sectors, in different domains. Some of them, as Elizabeth said, more cross-domain than others. But in order to coordinate and to support all these data spaces, European Commission is also funding a project which is called Data Spaces Support Center, and that has a mission to be the first line of support for these common European data spaces. For that, this project nominates a relationship manager to interact, to be an entry point for each of these data spaces into the Data Spaces Support Center. And this project has also an advisory role with regards to the European Data Innovation Board that is being setting up during this month. So with this mission, the Data Spaces Support Center is a group of experts that will be providing guidelines and instruments, methods in order to support all the data spaces in the setting up and deployment, and also to liberate them for being focused on the specific benefits for users instead of defining the common grounds of the technology or the governance for all data spaces. This is the summary of the assets that we may expect from the support center. I would like here to highlight one of them, which is the blueprint that is already there. It's available through the website of the Data Spaces Support Center, and is including different elements like a glossary, a conceptual model, different building blocks, specifications, and also guidelines for using all these elements together. So what we are proposing from the data space, from the data space for smart communities, is to consider mechanisms in the specifications, in the definition of the blueprint of the support center, because they can be useful not only for this domain but also for the others. And finally, here I just put it some links in case you wanted to be more engaged with the Data Spaces Support Center, to follow the news, to get even support from this pool of experts, and also to be involved in the different groups and webinars, and of course events that will be upcoming soon. So this is all from my side.
Thank you so much, Clara. And now we can move on to the actual outputs of the Data Space for Smart Communities preparatory action. So all the available tools and results that we have accomplished. And first, I would like to invite Ron van der Lans from Braxwell and the City of Amsterdam, who was kindly collaborating with us this past year to advance the data cooperation canvas, together with colleague Justine Gagnon from Eurocities. Ron, can you please share your screen and come online? Come to the screen.
Yes, I will try. Is my voice clear?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hopefully you can see my screen now.
Just a second, it's loading, I think. Yes, now we can. Perfect.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ron van der Lans. I work for the City of Amsterdam as an external expert already for 8 years. And for 6 years, I'm working in the domain of the data cooperations. But I'm also a managing partner in Braxwell, which is a small consultancy firm. So that's why I have 2 hats in this place. The cooperation canvas was developed during the preliminary actions that has been closed last September together, and we cooperated together with other working groups of the DS4 SSC, in very good cooperation. And when you look at the data cooperation canvas, you can see it as a data transferal from the business model canvas, which most of you might know, which is interesting to describe or compare business models. In this case, you can describe or compare data cooperation and even explore and design new data cooperations. And yeah, what can be expected? What is the data cooperation canvas? In fact, like if you design a data cooperation, it's creating a real online organization with a lot of technology. And what the data cooperation does is it's say the tip of the iceberg. When you develop a data cooperation, there will be lots of things involved. There will be an organization, there will be technology, there will be legal documents, implementation plans, MIMS implementation, and so on. And what the data cooperation does, it gives an overview of all these components, and it gives the possibility to have a shared common picture within the team. And so you know exactly what you want to establish and want to develop in a couple of years. And this is how it looks like. And all these elements I would like to explain to you, but since I have only 15 minutes, that will be not possible. But to help you with that, all this information can be found at this website. We open sourced all our sources, all our research and the results of this. At the moment, the Data Cooperation Canvas is available in a detailed PowerPoint, but soon we'll also have a book which will also be open source, so everybody can use it. Then I try to explain some aspects of the canvas. And when you look at the canvas, you see, in fact, 4 areas which you can describe. The most central and very important part is the why. Why is this data cooperation installed? Why is it developed? What is it doing? And there's an organizational part, there's a technical part, and something to say about the status. And when we look at the why, and it's about why this cooperation is there. And so what's the consent, the context, what is the area of expertise it's operating, and what are the objectives, and what are motivations for that, and how can it add value for the area where it works. So in the canvas, you try to describe this, and to within a team, try to discuss, like, this is a good description on what added value we want to have, and discussing about it, it will give you a common ground and common goal to work on. And when you look at the organizational part, there is important to describe what will be your key partners, what will be the organization who will be absolutely necessary to make this cooperation a success. And how will they be involved? Will they be leading? Will they be supporting? Will they have a financial role? Or is it something to do with quality and so on? So describe on forehand, like what organizations need to be there from the start, and what other resources might there be, resources technology-wise or legal-wise, or from the financial point of view. What kind of resources can you use to build this data cooperation? And of course, we will describe something like what is the business case? What can you, how can you earn money, and what will be the cost? I'll give that in a little bit more detailed analysis in this presentation, so you can see what the canvas is about. And the same goes with the governance model, which might be interesting for you, and the sharing processes analysis. Like you will see that later in this presentation, so I can explain more in detail. And of course, one part of the canvas is how to implement it. How do you organize it? How will you get connected with the participants who will be owning data and sharing data, who will be using it on what terms, and how do you get this network connected? How will they be a participant of your data cooperation? That can be described in the implementation roadmap. Then you can describe something of data and data sources. I will show that later on in the presentation, and the same goes with the interoperability. And when you describe that, you can also make this an exchange like that. Like how does this consist into the technical part of the cooperation. What kind of technology will you use? What will be the MIMs, the minimal interoperable mechanisms? Which one will you choose? Which one will you apply? And how can it be implemented? How will it be applied? And also the whole technical infrastructure, like what kind of technology will you use? Will you use standard technology, or will you have tailor-made technology? And what is the dependency on that in the market? Will it be possible to make it technology independent? And if not, what is the consequences of that? And as the last part, you can give a real clear, like, how far are you in the development of your canvas or your data cooperation? Like, is it very in the beginning, the exploratory stage, or is it already getting into operational or maybe even scaling stage? So you can make clear and also show the people who you're working with how far you are in the development. So this is a small overview very quickly, because we don't have a lot of time. But to show you something, on the bottom left, you can see where I am now in the canvas, and I want to show you something more about business cases. The business cases, of course, is like, how does it work? Will the cooperation be there to earn money, or will it be just on sharing costs? So it will be a not-for-profit. Will it be so that you have a cooperation to have the possibility to join innovation, to develop software for sharing data and share cost, but also to make new innovation applications possible? Or is it possible to work on a greater common good? And be aware, these are general business models that you can use for data cooperations, but you can also combine them. You can share costs and work on a greater common good and join innovations, for instance. So by describing this, you will make it clear to all members of your team what are exactly, and you can share this business case, so that you're all aware of the fact that this is what you're working on. So these are a couple of business cases. When you want to look at the shared processes, looking on what you can do in the data cooperation, this is analysis we did for analyzing a lot of data corporations that already exist. And when you look at the structure, you always see the flow from the data, from the creation of the data, through how you make it accessible and store the data, the uniformation of the data, that it fits together technically, how you can combine it, how you can interpret it, your data, or make it visual, and then use your data. And when you look at data corporations, you see that they differ in all kind of forms, but you see a certain structure. Most data corporation fit into this structure, and it makes it easy to compare also, and to look like what other data corporations are there in place. What can I learn from that, because they have the same structure, and why are they doing the things that they are doing? The governance model might be something that's interesting for you too. And the governance, in fact, says, how do we get from the data that we put in, and how do we get to the output? What are the activities that has been done? How is the decision making, and how is this enforced? How can the changes be done, and how can you be a member of this data corporation, and is it possible to leave, and under which terms? So this describes actually what the functionality of the data cooperation actually does with the data and what services it provides to the users. We do that, and in 11 we analyzed 11 different types of governance models. And you see an overview from here, and you probably recognize a couple of them. Open data will be well known by a lot of you, but the data trust, you can see applications for that too, or a data common. And for all these governance models, we described when it is used, how it works, what the control on the input and the control of the use is. And to make it more lively, we also explained some other application of these kind of governance models in data corporations that you might know. So, and this is described for all 11 governance models. And then looking on the technical side, it's good in a data corporation to describe what data you need and how it is available. In many cases, data might be available, but it needs to have a certain form to be usable. In some cases, it might not be already available, but it's on a wish list. In other cases, it's on a wish list, but it will never be available. For instance, if this data is too privacy sensitive. But it's good to work on a matrix with data demand and supply, so you know actually what are the users of your data corporation, what are they looking for, and you have a list of data sets that you want to have in your corporation. And then, of course, the interoperability part, then that's where the MIMS come in. And I think there are a couple of technical people who are probably know more about MIMS than I do. But it's important to think about what you will be doing on this. How will you get connected, between also having contacts with other data corporations from other sectors, because when you can be working cross-sectorial, and this will add a lot of value, and this interoperability is a very important part of this. So this is about the time I have to explain something on the corporation, and you can find more on the website that I explained to you. But be aware when you work on this that all these fields has some way of connection with each other. If you choose to change your governance model, this mostly will influence the business model that you will use in this corporation. So, and that's the fact. What you'll be doing is try to find a balanced content of the data corporation that you try to develop. But please start with an empty sheet like this. It can be downloaded from the website, and just try it. Try to implement it. And when you have any questions, maybe we can help you something with it. But we open up our sources, so you must be able to work with the book and the PowerPoint already a long way. More information can be found here.
Thank you, Ron, and thank you so much for also keeping the 15 minutes time limit. It's very kind of you. So indeed, just to repeat, this data cooperation canvas is something that we really endorse. We developed it together with the help of Ron and his colleagues, Jasper, during the preparatory actions. So we're very happy about this results and outcome. And thank you already for the comments. I saw that Björn commented. Let's move on then to the actual. So can someone please Elizabeth, tell me if you can see my screen.
We can see your screen. You just fell out for a second. So maybe repeat what you just said.
No, I just asked if if you can see my screen. Unfortunately, even though I came to the office so that I would definitely have a good connection. It's not good connection. So let's move on to the output of the preparatory action, which is the blueprint of a data space for smart communities together with an action plan for deployment. So we will just quickly go over this. Obviously, all these results are already available on our website, ds4sscc.eu. My colleagues will put it in the chat. And now we will just go over what you can also find online and hopefully use it as well. So these resources are already available if you want to work on it. And also these resources will be used in the data space deployment phase as well. So the blueprint itself has a technical and a non-technical element. The non-technical element of the blueprint actually pertains to the legal, to the business, and to the
I think there's
during this phase where you can start the smart community.
Yeah, sorry, Sophie, you fell out again.
It's going to be difficult like this. So perhaps if Justine, you are here, if my connection is so bad that you guys cannot follow me, then
stop your video.
I can also jump in for you, Sophie, but maybe you stop all the incoming video, then you don't have at least that.
Okay, is it better now? Can you guys hear me better?
Yes, it's much better.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I think here now it's perfect.
Important. The screen is important. So the non-technical part of the blueprint, which pertains to the mentioned aspects. So what does it actually mean? Okay. So there is the multi-stakeholder governance scheme. This is how we refer to it. Why is it multi-stakeholder? Because we have in this context, we can have multiple kinds of stakeholders, which means that it can be from the municipality, it can be the citizen, it can be also from civil society or industry player. And in the work that my colleague Justine Gagnon from Eurocities has developed, she has actually specifically in the code of conduct, she describes what are the principles and the vision for a data space in a smart communities environment. In this context, it's very important to elaborate and to really define what's the scope, what's the goal, and what are the incentives. And this is also, as we know, often the struggle as well to really define what's the incentive for sharing the data. So it's very important to engage maybe in workshops or other kinds of interactions to define it or to look at other examples. Then we also have to think about what is it that we actually are talking about, and it is data. So there are different types of data that you have to define in this data space environment that are required for the use case, and also to ensure that the quality of the data is up to date, and what's the insurance for that. So it can be, the data can be incomplete, or there could be other problems with the data. Then we also have to think about who is in the data space, who is participating, what are the roles and what are the responsibilities of each of them. This has to be clearly defined in order for the data space to function. And finally, how do you actually enable the data space environment? So this means that we have to think about the business models in place, what are the governance rules in place. These are also things that Ron just also talked about. And also, finally, what are the legal frameworks and what are the contractual frameworks? So in the work online, you will see that we have provided examples of this. When we talk about the legal frameworks, it can pertain to the European legal framework or national or regional ones. So it's very important to always check with your in the environment, because it can change. So obviously, the same rules do not apply in all countries or all regions. But ultimately, the goal is to create a win-win situation and incentives for stakeholders. And now I would like to give the word to Clara to explain the technical blueprint.
Hi again. So let me share again my screen. Okay, so this time I'm going to give you a summary of what we did in regards to the technical blueprint. As Sophie said, the main elements that are included in this technical blueprint, and we have delivered through the project website and through different material, is the catalog of specifications, the reference architecture, and the cookbook. So I will detail a little bit each of them in very few minutes, because we only have 5 minutes for that. In the case of the catalog of specifications, the idea here is to provide a collection of all the possible candidates, specifications, and reference implementations that are in the scope of smart cities and communities, suitable for implementing, for deploying a data space. So for that, we are relying, of course, on the Data Spaces Support Center taxonomy of building blocks. We are fully aligned with the Data Spaces Business Alliance, and we have also followed the minimal interoperable mechanism, so we are able to map these building blocks with the different means. The catalog is online. I have put here the link, and it's always open for contribution. So in case that you miss some specifications or some reference implementation, through the website, you can propose your own suggestions. Then regarding the reference architecture, we try to come up with an use case agnostic and quite generic high-level architecture in order to give the hint about how you can evolve from your smart city data platforms to a data space, which we are assuming that those ones that are already have in place a digital platform in order to collect the data and to process the data are in a shorter path to become or to onboard in a data space. But of course, we have provided recipes for all types of cities at different level of digital maturity. The idea is to incorporate to your architecture of your existing data platforms 3 main components in order to get on board on a data space. The first component would be a universal trust data registry, which means that every user of the data space will have a unique credential that will be able for him or her to access the different resources of the data space. And it's also a mechanism to validate the identity of the participants and to become a trusted participant of the data space. We are relying here on verifiable credentials and trusted issuers for that. The second essential component in this architecture is an authorization policies store, which is an add-on that you will have to incorporate to your identity management system in order to engage your participants into the data space, and also to allow these participants to verify their identity and access rights to the different resources of the data space. And finally, the third component that could be somehow optional, if this is just in case useful, if you want to federate with other data spaces and you want to get access to resources from other data spaces. This federation layer may include services for cataloging, marketplaces, metadata brokers, and so on. So, as I said before, the idea is to follow and to fit with the minimal interoperable mechanisms, and that's why we have provided this mapping between the different means and the different building blocks. So we can assume that these building blocks can be kind of mechanisms for implementing these minimal interoperable mechanisms. The evolution that we are thinking for the existing data platforms is that once you are able to deploy an instance of this authorization policy store and connect it and be connected to this universal trust registry, you can get access to the data space. And if you also additionally incorporate the federation layer, you can also get access and federate with other data spaces. We tried this, we tested, we customized this architecture into 4 concrete use cases from different nature. Some of them are more from different type of use cases. And for all of them, we describe the scenario. We fill the data cooperation canvas and Ron presented before. We adapted this high-level architecture into their specific digital platforms. And we also propose them kind of steps for this implementation. In order to collect and to guide other cities in order to do the same, we elaborated also the cookbook, which includes 4 main parts. One is a short guide with 5 basic steps from our perspective in order to follow and to start with this endeavor of setting up or onboarding a data space. Then we also elaborated recipes for the different types of scenarios, potential scenarios of cities. We also collected the feedback from the 4 use cases we tried and validated during the project. And we have also elaborated a kind of frequent asked questions about for you to help in answer basic questions about data space. I have put here also a link to a training video where all of this is very much well explained and with more details. So I encourage you to visit this video and to get more details. Now in the deployment project, it's time to expand this to enhance with additional components and be more customized, and also putting in practice in the different pilots that will be selected through the open ones. So thanks, Sophie.
All right.
In the meantime, Clara, there's already a question for you in the chat while Martin gets ready.
Clara, if you want to answer the question, please go ahead. If
yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can write it down in the chat just in case to avoid any delay in the presentation. So.
Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah, thank you. I think the last sentence that you mentioned there to put into practice is a very good connection now to the final output that we had from the preparatory action, which was basically an action plan on how you can put your use cases or any thoughts on any use cases basically into practice. And for this, and I want to recap a little bit on the data cooperation canvas. So, I mean, many of us go back to this, so you can see the importance on that. There is this part which is here at the bottom, the current status, yeah, and this gives you an indication of the level of maturity where the use case is right now, yeah. And this is a key point in order to position the use case within the action plan to come up with the right actions and so on that you need to take in order to come to the next level. Yeah. So what we have done in the preparatory action that we have developed the DS4-SSCC maturity model, as you can see schemed out here on the left, which describes 6 phases. So from preliminary phase over development phase, the concept phase, the organizing playing field phase, the increasing impact and preparing implementation phase up to the complete implementation phase, right? And every phase describes a set of actions, describes a set of KPIs that the use case needs to reach in order to position itself within the phase, and then it suggests the actions that you need to take in order to get to the next one. So you have here a selection here on the right-hand side. But all of this is also summed up, and here, please don't mind the size of the font. This should just give you a kind of a sense of the overview about what we call the action plan cheat sheet, which is a very simple laying out of the actions and of the KPIs related to each of the phases. Of course, when you go online, we have in all of the deliverables, we have more detail on that. And there you will also find the cheat sheet, which should help you to set your use case into action. So we have on one hand side the project results and the online training that we have on the web page, and also on the web page, but still work in progress, but should be done soon, is the interactive portal that we have, where you also have the action plan in place, and where you can basically scroll through and to come up with the actions that you need in order to get the use case to the next level. Okay, and with that, I go back to Sophie. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. So just to recap, although of course all of these are described in lengthy documents for you, but we have prepared these more accessible outputs, which are the data cooperation canvas, the interactive catalog that Martin just mentioned, which should be available soon online. We are working on it very hard. The cheat sheet for the action plan, and also we have the training hub available on the website. So please feel free to go to the website and access these resources already. And if you have any questions, of course, you can always reach out to us. With that, I would like to give the word to Flavio to just have a recap of possible use cases that we have already heard from the expression of interest forms from last year.
Yes, thank you. Let me share the screen. Okay, so thank you, everyone. I will talk a bit about the expression of interest that we had last year, by the end of last year. So the expression of interest was launched during the preparation phase, so during the project that we had for the preparation of the blueprint, and our call for expressions of interest to the community had several goals. So first of all, this was not an open call for projects, as we already explained then, but we wanted to understand who are the interested organizations that have the intention of becoming a future piloting site. Then we wanted to build a community that it's engaged in the creation of data spaces for smart cities and communities, and to foster this collaboration. So it was a kind of a first step towards the deployment. And then what was also very important for us is to understand what are the priority areas of organizations, sites, so regions, villages, cities interested in this topic. We asked ourselves, do we have a good geographical coverage, so across the European Union, and also to understand what are the important topics that should drive the design of our blueprint, but then also later the preparation for the deployment phase. So we asked several quite simple things that then helped us to do this job. One was, of course, the contact details and the lead organization of the expression of interest. Then what are the objectives? What are the problems they are addressing? Who are the pilot sites? For us, ideally, this means, and this is probably going to be also part of the open call, that we wanted to have 2 sites from 2 different countries collaborating. We wanted to understand if we have a good balance of the demand and the supply side. We wanted to understand what is the cross-sectorial dimension that they would be addressing, and what is the link of the applicants with the Living in EU and other initiatives that we have been involved with. So by December last year, we got 36 individual submissions, and once more, this doesn't mean that if you haven't submitted your expression of interest, you cannot then apply for our open call that's going to be launched in January. So so the expression of interest was really for us to understand and what is out there, what are the ideas, and also to start building this community. So we got the response from almost all countries of the European Union, some associated countries. So we think that the geographical coverage is very good, as this was, of course, a wider story than just deployment. We also got some international also interest from Mexico, Colombia, Iran, and the United States. We will see later when we explain the terms for the open call, but the current idea is that most probably countries outside of the European Economic Area or the EU will not be eligible. But for us, this was a really good check that we are able to outreach to most of the important players in Europe. And then this is the last slide. This is an aggregation of topics, ideas that have been addressed by expressions of interest. You can see that they overlap, but we had a lot of proposals, a lot of interest that addresses, you see on the left, climate change, pollution, health, and then this, of course, goes to questions about energy, about transition, about green renewable, and also other resources, not just energy, water, for example. Then everything around mobility, logistics, multimodality, traffic, and so on. There were some that were addressing so not only cities. Okay, it's not about smart cities, but we had ideas from interconnected regions, smart villages as well. So we make sure the story is wider. Then we had proposals. Yep. Sorry. And then we had proposals that are addressing citizens, tourism, development, sharing of knowledge, and so on. Then on the right side, you can see more those that are probably more related to local authorities, so about urban planning, development, sustainability, urbanization, housing, decision making, and so on. And then few of those that addressed really technical problems in the area of data spaces that they would like to solve. So it's bring this gap between data environments, analytics, data spaces. So very, very technical focus. And I must say that we are very happy that we got this very broad coverage of topics, geographical coverage, supply demand side, and so on. So we are very confident that when we publish our open call, we will get very, very good and high quality proposals. And I'm sure for those that that submitted their expression for interest, it has been a very good exercise also to prepare a good proposal for the open call. So that's it from my side about the sorry, not the open calls, but expressions for interest.
Thank you, Flavio.
Thank you.
So just to clarify, these were what was submitted as ideas or project proposals that communities would like to in the future realize. We do not have knowledge regarding their realization so far, but obviously these are also welcome to apply as part of the upcoming open call. I hope this answers the question that you asked, Hannah. And now I would like to change the topic towards the actual ongoing project, which is the continuation of the preparatory action, where we are going to realize data spaces. So what is ahead of us, Ghazal?
Hello everyone, my name is Ghazal. I'm talking about the
So I'm afraid we lost you. In that case, I hope
If he doesn't come back, then I can take over.
Yes. Here we go. Can you please?
Yes. I just have to share my screen.
I already shared the screen. Or there you go.
I am sharing. Okay. Sorry.
That's the wrong slide. Wait. Let me. I will share the screen, and maybe that's easier.
Okay.
Sorry, it was disconnected.
I think she's back.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So, can you see the slides? It's about the open call.
Yes, I now shared the here we are.
Yeah.
Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the actually interesting part that all of you are waiting for that, and it will be announced in 17th of January 2024 in the conference that it is happening in Rotterdam. And this call will be open for 2 or 3 months. So the one who is interested that need to know that we need to provide 50% co-financing to eligible to being applying for such a kind of call. And the approximately budget that you will allocated for each of these pilot, which is between 10 to 12, it is around between 1 million to 1.5 million euros. We will promote this open call to every channel that it is existing, that that it is in our hand, and we are making sure that all of you who is interested is able to apply for it. And after evaluation, we will share the result with all of you in the public, and in the transparency will be happen in the whole stage of this open call. What I will show with in the next slides actually is showing that for these 10 to 12 project, you need at least 12 months monitoring period. And this will be a minimum 12 months, and the maximum is around 16 months. And the first round of pilot, we will expect that it is starting in summer 2024. There will be 3 selection divided by 3 rounds actually. So we will have a cutoff, but we are really encourage all of you that you are ready applying from 17th of January. Look at the open call and start applying for that, because it would be interesting to have enough time to start your monitoring and do your implementation of your project. Next slide, I will talk about the criteria that actually it is regarding eligibility criteria. It is important that you know that you need to create a kind of mini consortium that it is among your community, cities or region, and at least they need to have a 2 member state participating in this mini consortium. It's actually really recommended that also you will have additional member state or industry bodies in your consortium, because it is helping around to showing and bringing this cross-domain use case that needed to be considered in this proposal. And what it is necessary also that you have a list of the stakeholders that need to be linked to the European network, like Living in EU, like EU Community and similar network. Bear in mind that the plan of the co-financing should be demonstrated in your proposal, and has a 50%, as I said, that it is co-financed. So it is necessary, and we recommend that you use the data cooperation canvas in your proposal. And this is part of eligibility criteria that we are seeing, but more detail will be published soon in 15th of January. We are working on it, and you will know more about that my colleagues will share it with you. If you have any question, please feel free to reach out to consortium lead and us, and we will try to support you as far as we can. Thank you.
Clara?
Okay, I'm here again. So just to complement what Ghazal said about the open call, to indicate that during the overall process, once the pilots are selected out of the open call, we will be supporting them. For that, we have set up this support team, which will be putting in place all the needed resources for the operational coordination of the pilots and the support from different perspectives to all of them. So the services that we will be providing through this support center will be, first of all, to help the pilots in onboarding the data space, establishing a plan with them, and providing during the full duration of the pilot, both technical and business support. Technical because they need to technically onboard on the features of the data space, and also perhaps to deploy some components and to integrate some components into the pilot. And business because they need to find the proper business model in order to make sustainable and operating the data space. The second service will be the mentoring and monitoring. So every pilot will be assigned with a mentor that will follow up all the activities of the pilot, and we will be continuously monitoring the performance and the execution of the pilot. Then we will be providing also training services for the pilots from the very different levels of maturity, depending on your knowledge, on your baseline knowledge. And finally, we will be also providing the evaluation service of the pilot with periodic evaluations that will be mandatory for all the pilots, at least 3 times during the execution. And based on certain evaluation criteria, we will assess which is the performance and also the final results of the pilot for the final reporting and feedback to the other activities of the project. So that's also, I think I pass the floor to Nuria.
Thank you very much, Clara. Tell me if you can see my slides.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So I'm here again. So I will be leading the impact activities in the upcoming project that we have just started. And one of the things that I would like to say is that basically with this work package, and if you follow our results, you will understand in quantitative terms what the impact of using data could be for specific use cases. And they've been analyzed in theory by my colleagues in the previous project, but now we will really have hands-on data to understand exactly what it means from a business and from a societal point of view. And then I think that something that could be quite important also for this work package is to understand why cities and other companies should move to a data space ecosystem with respect to using existing data sharing mechanisms like data platforms or data lakes. So I think that we will gather a lot of data that will make people understand why to move to one environment instead of another one from a quantitative point of view, which is something that we are lacking at this very moment. In order to do this work, basically this work package will have 4 major kind of activities. First one is the impact framework and assessment. And here what we are planning to do is to analyze and to enrich some of the existing frameworks that are available in order to understand indicators related to digital transformation of cities, data-driven transformation of cities, but also some other aspects related to Green Deal or sustainability that are not in existence nowadays. We will select a number of KPIs, we will measure these ones, and I think that's something that will be quite interesting is that we will do a monitoring, assessment, analysis, and visualization of this data so that you can understand a bit better what this impact means. And as part of this work, we are planning to do some benchmarks that will allow for comparison between the different options. Then I think that also we will understand, thanks to gathering so much data about the way we are using the money in the project, but we will also try to provide a plan that will make possible that companies, cities, citizens, and also the different stakeholders involved in the data space operations get money and also societal benefits. So for this, what we are doing already now is a market analysis, and you will see some hints later on. Then we will, of course, work on the positioning and the very concrete value definition, which is something that was done also by the previous project. But again, here, I think that the main difference is that thanks to all the pilots, we will really gather real data and we will understand the practicalities of all the things that were discussed in theory in the previous phase. We will analyze a bit further the policy and regulatory environment, again, looking at what happens in the real and operational context. Will provide exploitation and sustainability strategy, including a financial plan that will add resources to the ones that we are already using at this stage. And some of these activities for the go-to-market will be implemented during the project. Of course, some of them will come a bit later. Then as part of this work package, we will also have an ethical assessment and monitoring activity. So people applying to the open call will also benefit from an ethical assessment that will be done with all the pilots and also with support from some independent ethics members board. And finally, we will also generate data-based knowledge packs. I see that Clara has raised the hand, so maybe she wants to clarify something that I said.
No, just Nuria, drop a message in the chat about if you could speak slower, please.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I speak very fast. So these are basically the 4 major building blocks that we have in this part of the project. Again, impact framework and assessment, exploitation, growth strategy, and sustainability. Looking at the fact that the data space should be sustainable later on, and the ethical monitoring and communication. And something that is quite important is that we don't want the project to go in isolation, and we want to ensure that we use as much data and market intelligence is available as possible. So the pilots should look already at existing needs, existing challenges, but for us, it will also be important to be supported by market intelligence that will allow us to prioritize and to select those pilots, those applications, and to provide the right business plans that fit with the maximum impact that could be achieved in the market. And don't misunderstand me, impact can be of business nature, so economic, but also of societal nature. And I think some of my colleagues, based on the submitted proposals that were gathered in the previous phase, already mentioned many of these challenges that we already have analyzed. And here you have the list of the 10 major predictions for smart cities done by IDC. And I've not included all of them here. If you are interested, please get in touch with me and I'm happy to provide all these details. I've just selected 5 of them that are quite insightful, also looking at what the future of this project and the pilots could look like. And my colleagues already mentioned in particular climate change and energy efficiency. So these are some of the major challenges that most cities in Europe are facing nowadays. 65% of cities and communities are already impacted by that. And you may know that even though cities are already gathering data and indicators about this, there is a big challenge now to get high quality data that can be audited. So I think that a lot of things may be solved by our data space initiative. We hope so. Then already a lot of cities are thinking about setting up platforms to enable data sharing with a wider ecosystem. So we really hope that all the technical infrastructure that will be provided here will really help in this endeavor. Many of them are already doing this, and this was curious to see with architectural engineering and state firms to share data. So this seems to be a major challenge for cities, which is something that I've not seen so far in the use cases submitted to the previous phase. And then there is a myriad of technologies where cities are already investing in order to solve existing and pressing challenges, like using digital twins, for example, for water management, or for example, the use of AI, metaverse, or augmented reality for different aspects. So I really encourage you to look at all this data and to have a look at what is going on in the market. And of course, it is not very well what the challenges are, but also this kind of predictions and data that is already sound will be useful and used in order to prioritize some of the actions that will be implemented later on. And with this, I think that I'm done for my presentation. Thank you very much. I'm happy to help.
Thank you, Nuria. I just want to quickly pinpoint one slide again to recap. So it's about what we already know. We will have the open call on the 17th of January, and it will be part of the OASC conference where we will be launching it. You will be more than welcome to join us there. But what you already know is that the use cases you should prepare they should be cross-sectorial and represent a cross-European border collaboration. So, and also bear in mind that this is the launch, the piloting will be 50% funded. So you also have to demonstrate how you intend to finance the pilot. That moving on to the last part of all the presentations is Pauline, who will just quickly go over all the communication channels where you can keep in touch with us.
Yes, thank you. Before I share my screen, I had some trouble with my microphone, but can everyone hear me clear now?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. So I will share my screen. So for the people who joined later, hello, my name is Pauline and I'm from Serendipity. And for this project, we are responsible for all the communication, marketing, and dissemination. So most important here is to know where you can find us and where we share our updates regarding the project. So everything will be published on the current DS4 SSCC website, which has been shown earlier in this presentation, but I will quickly show you in a minute. And also important is that we are active on the current LinkedIn and Twitter channels. So press releases and all that information will be published on the website. But if you need anything, you can always email me, and my email address is stated in the presentation, but I will later share it in the chat as well. And also good to know is that all partners of the consortium also share relevant updates on their social media channels, and the Living in the EU website and social media channels. There will be a lot of updates published as well, since we are working together on this project. So I will quickly show you the website very briefly. So as you can see here, you can find, a lot of information about the expression of interest, the project results from the preparatory action, the training hub as mentioned before, and also on the news page you can find, for example, our latest press release here. And on top of that, oh, no, I cannot go back again. Oh, here. The LinkedIn page, I will show it very briefly, but I hope most of you are already following this page to find all relevant information, which can be found here. So yeah, in case of any questions about templates or anything else regarding communication, feel free to contact me. Yeah, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pauline. And this will actually bring us to the last part of today's meeting, which is the open discussion. So we would like to open the floor to you all to ask questions. Everyone from the consortium is here, so we are ready to answer any questions. But right when now we can give you a couple of minutes to maybe think about it. So this would also give us the opportunity to, in case, because I also know that our PO is in the audience, if he wants to say a couple of words about the expectation he may have, then you are more than welcome to come online. I'm not sure if he's still here.
Yes, I am here, Sophie. Thank you very much. No, I'm listening carefully to the good progress and to the exciting plans. I was particularly interested when you talked about the use cases that you had received in the December 22 call for expression, and that some of these areas coincides very much with the future plans that we have for our future work programs and for the EDI as well. I don't know if you're aware of this European Digital Infrastructure Consortium that we are trying to build in Europe with a number of member states and cities. But I particularly liked the issue of the multiple sectors involving multiple sectors that may be even conflicting interest or with conflicting goals in each of the case studies or pilots that apply. I always liked the issue of the connected regions and the connected data spaces, because that will probably push us to look for common, to generalize and to try to make agreements at the level of data, at the level of data spaces, and also even at the level of models of what to do with this data. I like that very much as well. Of course, I like the case study that refer to citizen experience, because that links very much, and that was a question in the chat from Norway on the Cityverse. Okay, we have this call that will close on the 22nd or 23rd, I don't remember right now, 22nd, I think, of this month of November. And then finally, there was a case study also that mentioned the models and AI. So that's more of a question for me to you. Would you see that these data spaces would encompass somehow or would deal with the AI models on what to do with the data also? Because that would be the logical next step. Martin jumped.
Go ahead, Martin.
I mean, it actually connects to the question of the ethics of the Cityverse, of all the AI stuff. So the data space, the way we see it, is the foundation. And then when you have the data, you start building models. So you can think about federated data or data spaces. But then on top of that, you have models. So you have linked models. So this is where the local digital twins come in. So I think that's the logical answer. Both that conceptually there's a clear link between what is data, what is models, how do we define the interoperability and the minimal interoperability between those data models, and then on the other hand, what are the concrete actions where you could become part of this? And I think Elizabeth showed, the current actions here. And there's an EDIC in the top right corner where, in a way, everything links. So we have to find out then the next step after the validation, which is this deployment. How do we operate this? So we know that the EDIC will take care of the local digital twin and the Cityverse part. Then the data space, we still need to find out where does that live. Do we create an EDIC for that? Does it become part of the other EDIC, or how does that happen? So for me, that's also one of the core functions of this deployment action, to learn, to understand how will we operate this. Ron.
Yes, I want to say something on the AI thing and also on the application thing. From our experience, it's not important to look on big amounts of data or complicated data or whatever. When you start sharing data, already a very simple but very critical data item, and make it part of a collaboration with a high added value, already can work very well in the data cooperation, and it can be a start of being bigger and bigger. So looking on applications like AI might be okay, but I think it would be good to look also on more simple things, because that can add in some situations a lot of value. And in fact, what we do, we are I also say we are plumbers. We make data flow from the data owner to data user, and we want to orchestrate that gain. And that we try to do, and look on added value, and not only on very sexy applications, because sometimes other applications which look simple might add more value.
Thank you for that advice, Ron. I think it's very meaningful what you just said. Martin, I can see you.
Yeah, I mean, Pepe, you wrote that there was a use case pilot case on models in AI. Yes, but we also need to understand where do we do what. And I think that data space pilots, in a way, they can do anything. I mean, they can link to any kind of aspect, but they have to be very practical. They have to show that something works in different places based on the same kind of infrastructure, if you want. But we also have the EDIs, the European Digital Innovation Hubs, and they have, the broad responsibility for building AI capacity locally. So one of the things we also need to learn is, what is the role of these different actions? And the EDIs, that's a very large one. It was mentioned by Elisabeth. I think there's 70, and what do we have? 36 that are identified to work with cities and communities. So working with these different capacity builders, I think, will be essential. But I would be very disappointed if we don't get at least, I don't know, half the pilots working somehow with more advanced modeling, which is not just, pushing data from one sector to another.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Sorry, at the end of the day, this has to come together. I mean, the data space for smart cities cannot stand on its own without the local digital twins, probably. So it would make, to me, perfect sense that you are in the EDIC as well. Huh? So that is something that we could work on, really. Huh?
But it's the same for the TEF. It doesn't make sense to have a TEF without a data space.
Yes,
so, I mean, the data space is the starting point, because without data, there are no models. So.
Of course. So there are lots of expectations on this EDIC.
So do we have questions? Because we have had presented a lot of information. So we do have one little information sharing in our packet left. But before we move on to Bernadette Köteles, who already posted in the chat, I wanted to ask if there are any questions regarding the dates that we mentioned, any practicalities, I want to clarify again that Elisabeth Beck-Knudsen from DTU is the coordinator and a point of contact of this project. So for any questions, you can always turn to her. So questions, no
from
questions?
Monica in the chat and from Björn.
Yes. How will we get? Sorry, go for it.
Yeah, it's a question about eligibility actually in the pilot. I understand. So there's a big German smart city piloting program. Paderborn is one of those who has as well expressed interest. We heard, however, that there's a cross-border element as well, and we have one project which is between Freiburg in Germany, Mulhouse in France, and in Switzerland, I think it's Basel. But I think that Switzerland is not eligible for the Digital Europe program. Would that disqualify a proposal from this cluster of cities?
I see Pepe nodding. Do you have a comment, Pepe? Sorry.
Yes, I believe, yes, that Switzerland is not associated to that. So these open calls would not allow for any non-EU or non-associated countries to participate initially. Yeah. Yeah. And the issue goes further. When you do the open calls, an entity that may be a French or a German entity will have to check also that this entity is not controlled by a non-EU or a non-associated country. For instance, it could be a company or multinational company established in Germany that has got lots of financing capital from the US or from Japan that would require at least this company based in Germany to present what we call a guarantee. Okay, but that should be explained well in the call text. Okay.
Pepe, it's actually an interesting borderline case. So can one member state, so if the Germans and others really want some Swiss partners in, could they guarantee, could they vouch for them? I think that's actually not clear.
I don't think so, Martin. Okay. I think the direct participation of entities for non-EU or non-associated states is forbidden in that. In this specific call topic, which is under Article 12.6. It wasn't my decision.
No, I think
because you are right. In some cases, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, but these are the rules of the game.
So this is a new world, and it's really a Digital Europe program, as you also said, Elisabeth, in the beginning. It's to build capacity in EU with some very select friends.
Not only that, I mean, Horizon Europe program is waking up to these kind of restrictions, what they call economic strategy restrictions for a certain number of technologies, of key technologies. So the tsunami is coming also for Horizon Europe.
So participation is prohibited, not only funding?
Yeah.
That's the answer again. Do we have other questions? In that case, you can also still think a little bit, because then I will ask Bernadette, because she also has a call for smart communities that I think it's relevant to share once we have all gathered here. It's important that we get as much information as possible out there. Bernadette, are you?
Thank you for the opportunity. I think many of you know me from the Smart Cities world originally, but now I'm working at DG Connect in B5, which is very much focused on connectivity. And so, as you know, I'm very passionate about data and data spaces, and I see immediately the connection with connectivity, which often when there is this type of funding, it's funded, or grants or other type of financial sources is funded from another source, which is the Connecting Europe facility. And we have not spoken so much about it, but I think it's quite important for you to have a look sometimes those type of funding opportunities as well, because now we have a third call open until the 20th of February. It's 51 million. And it's really focusing on 5G deployment. So it's 5G connectivity, but it's very relevant because it wants to support innovative use cases, which are of services of general interest, which are often like related to services that cities would give or other public authorities. So I would just like to invite you, because now there are also interesting use cases just to look at this. I posted in a chat some information. You can always contact for more information if this is interesting. There is a lot of information on the 5GSC.eu platform website, matchmaking and all kinds of things. But I just wanted to let you know that there is this dimension. You may want to have a look because it's 75% of infrastructure funding opportunity maximum. And there is also edge cloud integration now. So maybe it's something that is relevant for you. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I think it's good to think not only after we have already the data, but before actually we are implementing the right type of infrastructure. And 5G is offering quite interesting features we have never seen before. So it's useful to have a look. So thank you so much. That was all from my side, and I'm looking forward if you have any questions.
Thank you so much. While we wait for questions, allow me just to expand on that link, because I mean, there's the 5G, but certainly there's also the operational digital platforms, which interestingly, when we talk about the EDIC, Pepe, may also be a very relevant path to actually not just running around doing a lot of projects and innovation, but building infrastructure in Europe. Like we have bridges, we have railway tracks, we also need this type of infrastructure. So that's a new mindset that the digital is becoming, really hard. So of course, also doing this together with Gaia X and so on in the background. We are at a moment, I think maybe you can confirm that also, Pepe, and you, Bernadette, that from the Commission side, investing in these efforts as infrastructure, that's a shift from just learning how to do things better with data, but we are building these tracks. And then of course it also becomes a more, let's say, territorial exercise. But there's a few of rather important investments being made in Europe these years that I think the data space pilots will be essential in helping find also the role of these different investments. But now we get to the, the outer rim of the topic here. But I think really we have high expectations also to see what can be useful.
Maybe I can just, sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
If I can just reflect on that, as I said, 5G offers new type of features, and we see that some of the use cases really, for instance, focus on the security aspect that is offered by this type of technology. So all I wanted to say is that I think it's interesting to look at how this research, which was done for 5G, is now in the deployment phase. And of course, the Commission is giving a support, a facilitation in all kinds of ways, but it also depends on what is needed. So you are the stakeholders, you see what kind of services are relevant to be, benefiting from this. I just wanted to highlight that I agree with you, Martin, and I think we do this kind of puzzle game as well from the Commission side to make sure that we try to support in the right type of direction the infrastructure development as well. So I give back the floor. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It is very important that we look at it from a holistic perspective, that it's actually like quite a narrative, that it's not shouldn't be looking at it from a fragmented manner, but rather as a linear narrative. Before we close our session, we wanted to fine-tune our communication and outreach towards the community. So the last slide, though, is already shared on the screen, and I also shared the link in the chat. So firstly, there is the Data Space for Smart Communities Stakeholder Forum, which now counts 167 members. If you are not part of this forum yet and would like to become, please contact the contact point, that's Elizabeth, to be part of the stakeholder forum, you can also, of course, contact me as well, or you can contact literally actually anyone. We're very happy to welcome you to the stakeholder forum. We interact with this community quite frequently and have workshops to exchange ideas and so on and so forth. But I see that more than half of you, the 25 respondents, are actually part of this community. And the next question would be, which channels would you use to keep up with the projects? This is also for us to know, what works and what doesn't work. You can rank these. Of course, it may be that all is the same. So I see the email is winning, so please make sure you are part of the stakeholder forum. Contact me, contact Elizabeth, and we will add you. Okay, still have 2 more participants ranking. Email it is, so please just make sure you are part of the stakeholder forum. And finally, do you have any final remarks? I understand that the Myromania matchmaking in September left quite the impression on the community. I'm very happy with it. So we don't foresee any matchmaking. We have to discuss this internally because this was also an additional activity that we did because we understand that it was needed. So we matchmaking. So I think this is something we have to discuss internally and of course communicate it accordingly with the community. Let's see, because we have 6 participants typing and only 1 remark so far, which is matchmaking. Difference between email and newsletter. The email and the newsletter. So the newsletter is more of a periodic updates that we do, and the email is most like invitation. So there can be more. So we usually have the stakeholder forum workshops. For example, those go out in emails. We invited, for example, the community to this info session via this emailing list as well. And the newsletter is maybe not that frequent. But in the newsletter, we have more the overarching, so the results of the projects would be there and events where we are there, but the emails are more frequent. Exactly. Do not forget that we have the 16th and 17th of January in Rotterdam. More official communication is to follow. Networking events. The OASC event is a great opportunity to network as well. Okay. And just a final remark that all the presentations will be shared also, for example, through the stakeholder forum mailing list, as well as they will be uploaded to the Living in EU website and the DS4CCC website. With this, I would like to thank you all for your participation. I would like to thank the consortium for the collaboration and all the presentations, and for jumping in all the time for when my camera was out or like my connection was out, and for all the chat questions. And of course, if you have questions after this session, reach out to us.
And thank you, Sophie. If I just may say a comment, I put my contact information in the chat one more time. I think I put it several times, so please find it in there. And also be aware of the ones who put their contact details in the chat. I see some very eager to apply for pilot. So check it out if something might be interesting for you. And I hope that you have learned a lot today. And again, please reach out if you have any questions. We will be happy to help. And then hopefully see you in January on the 17th. Thanks.
Thank you. Have a nice day, everyone.
Ciao. Stay safe.
Goodbye, everybody. Ciao.
Bye, thank you.